Rahim, we will discuss the development of tongue. In this slide, you can see frontonasal process, and this yellow one is the maxillary process, which is left and right, while frontonasal process is one. While this blue one is the mandibular process. So face develops from these 5 processes. This one is the side view of this. We have discussed the development of face. Now this second slide, red one is the neural tube, while the light blue color is the pharynx, while these brownish, they are pharyngeal pouches, pharyngeal arches and pharyngeal pouches. You can see from the dorsal side neural crest cells, they are migrating into the pharyngeal arches. So this is just to orientate you that the pharyngeal arches and pharyngeal pouches and pharyngeal clefts, these are forming the pharyngeal apparatus, and from these structures the tongue develops. Now, during tongue develops in the beginning of 4th week of development, in the ventromedial part of inner side of first pharyngeal arch, there develops a triangular swelling known as median lingual swelling. While this is other name for this is the tuberculum impar. Then on both right and left side, 2 swellings develop in the first pharyngeal arch on the right and left side of the tuberculum impar or median lingual swelling. These are known as lateral lingual swelling. They are also known as distal lingual swellings. Then in the second pharyngeal arch, and then is the third and fourth pharyngeal arch. In the ventromedial part of third and some part of the fourth pharyngeal arch, there develops a structure which is known as copula. On the sides of third pharyngeal arch and fourth pharyngeal arch, there develops a swelling which is known as hypopharyngeal eminence. Now, during the end of 4th week and beginning of 5th week, these 2 lateral lingual swellings which are present in the first pharyngeal arch, they grow medially and forward, and then they unite. They bury the medial lingual swelling while they grow towards each other, and they unite in the septum. The line of union can be seen on the dorsal surface of tongue as a median sulcus. Then the union of these 2 lateral lingual swellings, it forms the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. It is also known as oral part. On the ventral surface, the tongue becomes separated from the pharyngeal arch, but a little connection is persisted in the median plane, which forms the frenulum of tongue. Now, the copula is present caudal to this anterior 2/3, and then on the sides of cupula hypopharyngeal eminences are present. These hypopharyngeal eminences, which have developed from the third and the cranial part of the fourth pharyngeal arch, they overgrow medially and they bury the cupula, and then they bury the second pharyngeal arch and they become continuous with the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, which has developed from the union of two lateral lingual swellings. The line of demarcation between these two parts is visible as a V-shaped structure, which is known as sulcus terminalis. At the tip of this sulcus terminalis, there is present a small foramen. This is known as foramen cecum, and this is the remnant of place from where the thyroid gland has developed. Now, this union of hypopharyngeal eminences, it forms the posterior one-third of the tongue, which is present in the pharyngeal part of the oral cavity. So it is also known as pharyngeal part. So in this way, the tongue developed from these two sources. The anterior two-thirds from the lateral lingual swelling, which are derived from the first pharyngeal arch, while the posterior one-third from the hypopharyngeal eminences, which are derived from the third pharyngeal arch as well as the cranial part of fourth pharyngeal arch. So this part, posterior one-third, is also known as pharyngeal part, while the anterior two-thirds is also known as oral part. So in this case, you have seen the mucous membrane and epithelium develops from the endoderm, which is lining the foregut in both portions. Then inside the connective tissue and vasculature, it develops from the mesenchyme. Then from the occipital somites, the myotomes from them, they migrate into the substance of the tongue. So they form the extrinsic as well as intrinsic muscles of the tongue. So the intrinsic and extrinsic muscle, they develop from the occipital myotomes, except one extrinsic muscle, that is the palatoglossus. As the occipital myotomes, they are supplied by the 12th cranial nerve, that is the hypoglossal nerve. So these muscles, they are also supplied by the hypoglossal nerve. So here you can see in this diagram the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, which has developed from the lateral lingual swellings, it is blue in color, while the posterior one-third is orange in color, which has developed from the hypopharyngeal eminences. So motor supply of both parts is by the hypoglossal nerve. The sensory supply, which is of two types, one is the general sensation, other is the taste or gustatory sensation. The general sensation, as the mucous membrane covering the anterior two-thirds is derived from the first pharyngeal arch. So lingual nerve, which is branch of mandibular division of trigeminal nerve, is the nerve which supplies the general sensation, which perceives the general sensation from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, while the taste sensation, they are perceived by a branch of facial nerve, which is cauda tympani, and this branch comes into the anterior two-thirds of the tongue and perceives the taste sensation. This branch of facial nerve is known as pre-tremic branch. In birds, each pharyngeal arch has got a pre-tremic and a post-tremic nerve, but in human being only the first pharyngeal arch has got this pre-tremic nerve, which is the chorda tympani branch of the facial nerve, and perceives the taste sensations from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. While from posterior one-third, which is mostly derived from the third pharyngeal arch, its sensory supply, its sensory innervation is by the glossopharyngeal nerve. The posterior most part of the tongue, which is derived from the cranial part of fourth pharyngeal arch, it is supplied by the superior laryngeal nerve. So, in the posterior one-third, both taste sensation and general sensation, they are carried by the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the line of demarcation is indicated by a V-shaped terminal sulcus, also known as sulcus terminalis. The tip of this V contain a foramen which is known as foramen cecum. This chart, this is showing how different, is summarizing how the different part of tongue develops. First pharyngeal arch, lingual swellings, medial lingual swelling, lateral lingual swelling. Medial lingual swelling is buried and the lateral lingual swelling forms the mucosa of the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, and it is supplied by mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. Second pharyngeal arch, copula, which is buried. Third pharyngeal arch, hypopharyngeal eminence, mucosa of the posterior one-third of the tongue, and it is supplied, it is perceived by the ninth cranial nerve, which is the glossopharyngeal nerve. Fourth pharyngeal arch, hypopharyngeal eminence, mucosa of the posterior most part of the tongue, and the nerve is the superior lingual branch of the vagus nerve. And occipital somites, from them all the musculature of the tongue except palatopharyngeal muscle. Now about the taste buds. The taste buds in the anterior two-thirds, which are fungiform and mostly filiform, they develop in the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, and the chorda tympani branch perceives taste sensation from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. While in the posterior one-third, just anterior to the V-shaped sulcus terminalis, there are present circumvallate papillae. These are papillae which are surrounded by a well-like structure, and here abundant taste buds are present. So this is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. As the mucosa of the tongue is pulled a little cranially, so this part comes to lie a little anterior to the sulcus terminalis. The posterior most part and the epiglottis, because they develop from the cranial most part of the fourth pharyngeal arch, so they are supplied by the superior laryngeal branch of the vagus nerve. Now we come to the congenital abnormalities of the tongue. The first of this is the tongue tie. In this case, the frenulum is present up till the tip, as you can see in this diagram, and the baby is unable to protrude his or her tongue from the outside the lips. Now this congenital abnormality is present 1 in 3000 births, and this is corrected automatically, because by when the baby moves the tongue, the frenulum is reduced inside and the baby can protrude his or her tongue, but sometimes surgical intervention has to be done. Then the second congenital abnormality is microglossia. This means small tongue. Tongue is very small, and in this case the mandible is also very small in some cases. Microgonathia is the word used for this. So these two abnormalities, they are present in combination. The third one is the macroglossia. Macro means larger tongue. This larger tongue is present in cases of cretinism. The tongue is larger than the normal size. Then another congenital abnormality is the bifid tongue. In this case, the anterior two-third incompletely unite at the tip of the tongue, and there are two parts of the tips present. So this is known as bifid tongue. So one thing more, that the tongue is present in the oral part, and it is only at the 4th year of age when the posterior 1/3 shifted to the pharynx. So anterior 1/3, 2/3 lie in the oral part, while the posterior 1/3 lies then in the pharyngeal part. So that's all about the development of tongue. Thank you.